moms who've gained national attention in their fight against Common Core. You know, I look out and I see Crystal and I see Renee, and up on the stage is Alisa. One of my favorite movies is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Absolutely love that movie. And if you've seen the movie before, it is a movie about two scoundrels, and they're running across the western U.S. being chased by a group of guys who don't like them robbing trains and banks. Paul Newman, who plays Butch Cassidy in the movie, keeps on asking himself, as he looks at those guys coming after him, who are those guys? Well, I think when they heard about the Utah Moms Against Common Core around the country, people were asking, who are those guys? Well, they gained national attention, and they were one of the early pioneers in the fight against Common Core. Now, Alisa, she probably doesn't want me to share this with you, but did you know that Alisa's a school dropout? She left high school early, actually, so she could enroll in BYU. She's often asked, I understand, about her qualifications when it comes to commenting on education policy. And she always has a great response. Why? Because I'm a mom of 7 children who care about education. That's her qualification, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah!
She is the candidate in District 12 here in the state of Utah for the State Board of Education. Ladies and gentlemen, Elisa Ellis.
Thank you, Rod. I have really appreciated over the years the kindness that Rod has shown to our cause, and we wouldn't have gotten where we were without his help, so I really appreciate it.
Yay!
I have my family here. I shouldn't cry, but as Rod mentioned, when people ask me what qualifies me to run, it is these 7 children that I have that qualify me to have a say in what is happening in the education of our children. I don't have a fancy resume. I don't have a lot of fancy letters behind my name. But I have these 7 children that nobody but God knows better than I do. No one knows how to reach them quite like I do. No one knows their fears, insecurities, strengths, and numerous other accolades quite like I do. It is my responsibility to see that they have the best education possible. As the Utah Constitution states, it is my primary responsibility to educate my children. The state's role is secondary. Too often, this responsibility is seen as the state's job. We even have presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, who says that parents have no role in education. This is wrong. It's time to put the lead of our schools back into the hands of the parents as the founders originally intended and as our state constitution says. I'm running for state school board because when it came to discussing meaningful education policy with my superintendent, I was told that we have no local control. He even went so far as to tell Renee and I that our local school board no longer represented us. He told me that he was tired, that he'd been fighting the fight for local control for a long time. I told him that day if he wasn't willing to do it, that I would pick up the fight to restore local control in education.
Yeah!
So what is local control? The local control I envision involves much more than stating merely that teachers can teach out of whatever textbooks they please. The local control I envision means that as a parent, I have the freedom to find a classroom in the public schools that can teach the type of math, science, history, English, and other subjects that I deem valuable, not what a conglomerate of states deems not trying to take away other people's rights to be taught with a set of common or national standards, but they can't take away my right either. Imagine a system of schools where as a parent I can find a classical approach to education if that's what I deem valuable. Let's let the free market system work in education. Imagine a system where teachers are given the freedom to truly teach. There are too many regulations placed on the backs of our teachers, too many mandates to meet, too many tests to oversee, and not enough time to teach. We need to allow teachers the courtesy we give other professionals and let them use their professional judgment to decide what methods work best in their classroom. In turn, we need to give the parents the power to find the methods that best match their children's needs. One size doesn't fit all, and one teaching method doesn't teach all. It is often stated that we have full control over education. This is true. We do. But we are not exercising that right. We are continually, voluntarily following the carrot dangled before us, either out of fear of losing funding, or trying to gain more funding, or many other unknowns. Historically, this pattern has given us things like the unconstitutional Federal Department of Ed, which in turn has given us a tongue twister of acronyms. ESEA, SLDS, FEPRA, FERPA, SFSF, RTT, RTTD, RTTA, GRIT, and many, many other programs. I spent the last 5 years in an in-depth study of these acronyms and the freedoms that they take away from our local districts. Recently, we had the opportunity to push back against all federal intrusion into education, but instead we codified into law President Obama's blueprint of education reform in a grandiose bipartisan effort that will give the Department of Ed full veto power over our state's education plan, and even calls for family engagement centers. This is not local control. We have come to a crossroads. It is no longer acceptable to go along to get along. We need leaders that are willing to stand up to the bullying that is continually coming out of Washington. The edict recently that was placed on the backs of the districts, and all of a sudden you have people across the nation changing policy in their local districts. Did you realize that our largest district in the state, Alpine School District, actually receives 0 funding in Title IX? And yet they're willing to implement a policy out of fear of losing funds that they don't actually receive. This is not right. That same district already had a very sensitive policy where they had contacted each student and family that was dealing with this issue and came up with a way to alleviate the problem that everybody was happy with. This is how things need to work at the local level. We can't mandate across the nation to try to handle these types of things. It seems that every candidate, even at the presidential level, says that they're against Common Core. These have become empty words. It's the same with local control. Everyone runs stating that they're for local control. We need to find candidates that mean what they're saying and are willing to actually do something about it instead of just say it as an empty campaign promise.
Yeah!
If elected, I will do everything in my power to stop the trend towards nationalizing and corporatizing education. I will do everything I can. When I was on the State Science Review Committee, none of the state board members nor the acting superintendent knew that they were copy-pasting national standards. As a member of the parent committee, I had to alert them with another colleague of mine That is not right. The state board needs to be running the state office and not the other way around.
Yeah!
Q.B. Brown said that one of the most important things in the world is freedom of the mind. From this, all other freedoms spring. Such freedom is necessarily dangerous, for one cannot think right without running the risk of thinking wrong. We live in an age when freedom of the mind is suppressed over much of the world. We must preserve this freedom and resist all efforts of earnest men to suppress it. For when it is suppressed, we might lose the very liberties vouchsafed in the Constitution of the United States. I pledge to push back against the micromanaging coming down from the states, from the feds, and from the state to our local districts. I would love to see our local districts have more autonomy. I would love to see teachers be able to teach without jumping through so many hoops. I'm tired of bad policy being blamed on poor implementation. It is time to bring meaningful decision-making power back as close to the family and the local community as we can. I'm Elisa Ellis, and I'm asking for your support. Thank you.